I began my coverage of this situation with, "It ends with us," really wanting to believe that Blake Lively was being honest. I thought that if someone made such serious claims, there would be no reason for them to lie. I wanted to trust her, but then I started digging into the lawsuits and examining the evidence presented. I sifted through various lawsuits that are connected to this case, and the number of PR firms involved is staggering. I've also noticed that the narrative being pushed by Blake's PR team suggests that if you don't believe her, you're a sexist or a misogynist who hates women. This is a classic PR tactic. PR spins don't adhere to political lines. In fact, celebrities often claim political beliefs that they don't genuinely hold just because it's trendy. So we shouldn't look to celebrities as our moral compasses or sources of truth. If there's one thing I've learned from covering this story, it's that PR companies in Hollywood are manipulating public perception, leading us to believe that those who appear good are truly virtuous. In reality, they have their own issues and can be quite flawed. Just because someone leans left doesn't mean they are above dishonesty, and it's frustrating that this case has turned into a political battleground. When I began this investigation, I approached it from a neutral standpoint, focusing on the evidence. In every case I handle, I prioritize the facts and avoid letting bias influence my decisions. I strive to remain objective and keep my personal opinions out of the equation. Initially, I wanted to believe Blake, but as I delved into the claims and considered Justin's perspective, I noticed discrepancies. For instance, while Blake's text messages lacked context, Justin's provided a fuller picture. If we were to take statements out of context, we could misrepresent situations entirely, like suggesting Ryan Reynolds admitted to wrongdoing based solely on selective quotes. To establish a narrative and restore a reputation, one needs more than just a few cherry-picked messages. Solid evidence is essential in court. The issue with Blake's situation is that it involves a studio with numerous employees, an HR department, and extensive documentation, including videos, contracts, emails, and witness accounts. All of this can corroborate or refute claims made against them. Additionally, there are multiple lawsuits at play, each offering context and text messages. Some of these messages are being used to allege a smear campaign against Stephanie Jones, while the same texts are also being referenced in relation to Blake Lively. It's important to note that the source of the text messages Blake used in her lawsuit came from Stephanie Jones after she terminated Jen. The situation reminds me a lot of the article about Stephanie Jones and how she retaliates against those who fire her. She has a ruthless reputation for planting negative stories in the media about her clients. The way she operates is by creating chaos. She reveals a damaging secret about a client, then swoops in as their publicist to deny it, making herself look like the hero. Business Insider published an article that contradicts Stephanie Jones's lawsuit, which she filed as the former publicist for Justin Baldoni Wayfair. They interviewed over 40 former employees and clients, not just Jen Al and Melissa Nathan, revealing a complex situation with multiple perspectives. Stephanie Jones was the source of the screenshots and was motivated to share them with Blake Lively after losing a contract and feeling angry that her rival Melissa Nathan was hired. When you examine Stephanie's lawsuit, it's clear she misrepresents the context to claim that Melissa Nathan and Jen Al intentionally defamed her through the Business Insider article. The same text messages are referenced in Blake's lawsuit, where they are claimed to be about her. However, in Justin Baldoni's case, the full conversation shows that they were dealing with the fallout from Stephanie going to the Daily Mail, planting a story about Justin, and then trying to clean it up to appear as the hero. Jen and Melissa, who were not involved in any leaks, had to manage the mess and calm Leslie Sloan down. It's worth noting that Leslie Sloan, Blake's publicist, was also involved in planting stories. This situation really isn't about Blake and Justin. It's more about the PR professionals who are competing to shape the narrative in the public eye for their clients. As I sift through all these lawsuits, I can't help but think how beneficial it would be if they didn't even have these publicists. Some of these publicists are going off script, acting without consent, and inserting themselves into stories. They believe they're resolving issues, but in reality they're complicating things further. What if they just communicated directly with the public? Where are the days when people had genuine conversations with their audience? The reason Hollywood is becoming increasingly irrelevant is partly due to the significance of this struggle. The viewership for theatrical movies is still down 40% compared to pre-pandemic levels. Fewer films are being produced, they're not released as often, and they don't stay in theaters as long. The rise of streaming and digital platforms allows people to watch films on their own terms, making it far more convenient than attending a theater at a specific time. As the industry contracts in social media continues to grow, with individuals willing to engage directly with their fans, the idea of a Hollywood movie star is fading. In my view, we're witnessing a pivotal moment in Hollywood's battle over films, as fewer are being made, budgets are tighter, and there's a greater demand for a substantial return on investment. The film spends less time in theaters, creating a situation where there's not as much money as there once was. With so many options available to consumers, some celebrities are adapting while others are struggling. In this case, Blake and Ryan seem to embody an old-school celebrity mindset, believing in the Hollywood mystique where not much is known about them, shrouded in curiosity and illusion. On the other hand, you have someone like Justin who chose to break that mold by starting a podcast and engaging in conversations about topics he cares about. This represents two very different approaches to connecting with audiences. Justin's platform is more forward-thinking and progressive, appealing to those who engage with him on social media and feel a closer connection to his words. In contrast, Blake and Ryan's presence feels highly curated and sculpted around a specific image, which can come off as inauthentic. I believe part of the backlash against Justin stems from perceptions of him being performative. When a guy has to declare himself a feminist or an ally, it raises suspicions. Some people may simply dislike him because he's a really good-looking guy and they struggle with that fact. There are people who care about women, but others might not be fond of him. Regardless, that's just who he is. Not perfect, just human, making mistakes and owning up to them. Ryan and Blake tend to keep their personal lives private, and when they do share, it's often fabricated or misleading. They seem to think they are above others, living in a Hollywood bubble that makes them feel entitled and disconnected from reality. In today's world, this kind of celebrity is losing its appeal to the public. Much of the backlash seems to stem from a lack of authenticity among these individuals. Justin, on the other hand, has shown both his flaws and strengths. He admits when he's wrong and is open about his vulnerabilities, sometimes to the point of oversharing, which has been used against him. Blake and Ryan, however, seem to enjoy mocking others, lying to the press and playing games. For instance, I received an email from someone who worked at a healthcare facility where Ryan's father lived before he passed away from Parkinson's disease. The person commented on one of my videos, saying they were from Vancouver and that my information was quite accurate. They mentioned working every Sunday at the independent living facility where Ryan's dad stayed and got to know him personally. They described him as very nice, but noted that his wife was arrogant and neglectful, only showing up for events that offered free food. When he became too ill for the facility, he ended up living with a Filipino family instead of with his snobby wife. In the grocery store, he confirmed with me that this was the family he was living with. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, especially on his mother's side. That was their opinion, but then they sent me an email to provide some further context. They mentioned reading a People magazine article where Ryan claimed his mom was his dad's primary caregiver. Give me a break. He died in the hospital from Parkinson's when he could have passed away at home if she truly cared for him. From the Pacifica Independent Living Care Home in White Rock, South Surrey, British Columbia, to a Filipino family home, they were his primary caregivers until Jim died. Jim had a closet full of Ryan's films, commercials, and pictures. I saw it for myself. Pictures of him and his sons where he taught them fishing, boating, and motorcycling. He spoiled those boys. The mother was nowhere in the pictures. I don't believe he was estranged from his father for 10 years. I think his dad was trying to tell him he was hurting Alanis and others for his own selfish reasons. The youngest of 4 boys, maybe Ryan got mad at his dad for honestly telling him to shape up because Jim was not at all a bad person. He loved Ryan and his other sons. Jim showed me everything. He even had a beautiful framed picture of Ryan and Alanis. He said they lived together for 5 years, but Ryan dumped her like garbage just like he did with Scarlett. Ryan's mom, Tammy, dumped his father into a home and then into a Filipino family home when things got tough. Ryan is just like his mother. She only showed up at the independent living place for the free food days. I could tell Jim was deeply hurt by Alanis and Ryan's breakup, and he had no relationship with his wife. He'd be in his room while her face isn't attractive, and it's unfortunate for Ryan because he can no longer conceal his true self. It was only a matter of time before the truth came out. I can't independently verify these claims since Jim has passed away, but this individual from Vancouver claims to have worked with him. Ryan has publicly mentioned that he has created stories about his father that may or may not be accurate, and he isn't sure where these stories originated. We also know that one reason I've disliked Ryan for years is due to his treatment of Alanis Morissette. He was a relatively unknown actor, and Alanis gave him a taste of fame that he didn't have before. Once his celebrity status began to rise, he discarded her as if she didn't matter. He then married Scarlett Johansson, who is significantly younger than him, completely ignoring the life he had built with Alanis. When he further disrespected Scarlett by cheating on her with Blake, I thought to myself that this guy is just a social climber who uses women for his gain. He doesn't care about anyone but his own fame. That's my perspective. If what this person says about his father is true, that's unfortunate, but I also recognize that parents can sometimes hurt their children, even when they love them deeply. Ryan's view of his dad could be accurate or not, but it seems like his father might have been someone who held him accountable for his actions. If there are people in your life who tell you no, or don't agree with you, it's easy to cut them out, especially when you're gaining success and surrounded by people who only say yes. I received an email along with a video of Ryan discussing the loss of his father in an interview with Variety magazine. In this segment, he and Andrew Garfield engaged in an actor-on-actor conversation, where they took turns interviewing each other. Ryan mentioned that he feels closer to his dad now that he has passed away than he did when he was alive, and he is working on his relationship with his deceased father. This sentiment struck me as eerily similar to Justin's claims about channeling Blake's late father and communicating with him, which is quite odd to consider.
I like to think, or am I romanticizing that to pave over all these other things with whatever the drug is, accomplishment, or or whatever. Yeah. But the story is not true. It's not. Nobody's black and white like that. There's no like sort of binary code that tells us they're this or that. But those stories we tell and those things that kind of screw us up or we think screwed us up are the exact weird kind of burgoo that gets us to carve a place out in the world. And I also noticed that.
Now Ryan is saying that he was telling himself a story about his dad that wasn't true, realizing that his dad wasn't all the bad things he thought. Because he understands now that it was just a story he created, he feels closer to his dad, even though his dad has passed away. He feels connected to his dad's spirit. When I heard that and then received the email, I thought about Blake's lawsuit, where she mentions Justin talking to her deceased father. It seems that if Ryan can have a relationship with his dead father, then Justin could be doing the same with her. However, it feels a bit strange that Ryan made this claim in December, right before the lawsuit was filed at the end of that month regarding Justin speaking to her dead father. That was one moment that made me think there was something off about this lawsuit. Another thing that caught my attention was a clip of Blake Lively biting Justin Baldoni's lip while they were filming a scene. The footage, taken in January 2024 and published by Splash News, shows her clearly biting his lip. Justin mentioned that this lip bite was never brought up until the lawsuit, but it definitely happened. When you're filming a romantic kiss, I suppose accidental biting can occur as lips can get a bit tangled. I'll share that clip. What stood out to me in Blake's lawsuit compared to Justin's was the idea that Blake would act in a certain way. She would be open with her language and flirty in her texts, claiming that ball busting was her love language. She also mentioned how she would show him the flirty way they would approach the rooftop scene the next time they were together, implying they would practice their intimate scene. That flirtiness and overt sexual charisma she exudes seemed to be something she willingly shares with the world. The next time they're together, they should show him the flirty way they'll approach the rooftop scene, hinting at their practice for the intimacy part. She exudes a certain flirtiness and sexual charisma that she openly shares with the world. She frequently discusses sexuality, and while that doesn't mean women who do so can't experience sexual harassment in this case, she seems to hold more power than he does. There are videos of her playfully biting his lip and them dancing, which contradict her version of events. Text messages exist that challenge her narrative regarding fat shaming and the inappropriate messages she claims to have received. There's even evidence of her inviting him to her office or trailer while she was pumping. While none of this proves she couldn't have been harassed, the amount of evidence against her claims makes it difficult, in my view, for a jury to see this as a clear-cut case of sexual harassment. Some media outlets insist we must accept this as a straightforward case, stating that her lawsuit reflects her feelings, regardless of any nuances in their relationship. However, those nuances do matter. If there was flirting on set or in their texts, it changes the dynamic significantly compared to a purely innocent colleague relationship. Workplace flirtation is not synonymous with sexual harassment, and feeling uncomfortable doesn't automatically equate to being harassed. It must be pervasive and extensive to qualify as such. She likely would have gone through the proper channels to report her concerns, but her behavior on set suggests she's engaging in many of the same actions she accused him of. It seems she can do it, but he can't, which highlights the double standard and the contradictory nature of her claims. She accuses him of actions that she herself is guilty of. In my opinion, this case will be challenging for a jury to rule in her favor, especially with the mounting evidence against her, including the recent revelations about the lies regarding the kissing incident, his father, and other matters. These inconsistencies will only serve to undermine her. Credibility. Ultimately, it's not about whether you trust a woman. It's about whether you trust the Hollywood machine. Celebrities are not necessarily paragons of truth, and it's irresponsible for mainstream media to suggest that doubting Blake could harm all women. She doesn't represent all women, nor does she represent me or many of the American women I know. She exists in a different reality. For most of us, the skepticism surrounding her claims likely stems from her perceived entitlement and the narcissism she shares with her husband, both of whom seem to be dishonest. But that's just my perspective. What do you think about this new evidence? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I'm enjoying the conversation with all of you, and thank you for watching. Bye everyone.